All right, it's Tuesday, October 27th. Make sure you're wearing Canvas. Here we go. Go ahead and begin the starter, and I will go over some of these questions because you literally saw them yesterday. So make sure you can use yesterday's work, use your notes from yesterday's video regarding the French Revolution in order to answer these questions. But go ahead and do so now. First one, which of the following best describes the Enlightenment? So again, you've seen this question a couple times already. So again, this is an important question that you need to kind of hold with you and take with you as we progress through the rest of the school year. Question 2, what movement focused on reason and human freedom in the late 18th century and influenced the French Revolution? Next one, what group of people were considered the first and second estate or social class in France during the French Revolution? And again, here I want you to choose all that apply because it's going to be more than just one of those groups of people. So please choose all that apply. Same thing, question 4 was what group of people were considered the third estate or social class? And again, choose all that apply in that option there as well. I know it doesn't say that specifically, but go ahead and please make sure you choose all that apply because it's going to be more than just one of those groups. And then lastly, the French Revolution overthrew the monarchy and has been a republic or democracy ever since. That is a true or false question. Okay, that is the starter. Now go ahead and again, you should have answered all those questions as a starter. I will give you a couple minutes to do so. Okay, to finish up, and then we'll move on. All right, so let's move on now to the summary for today's lesson. Today, real similar to yesterday, real similar, except for the North Carolina Standard Course of Study has changed. Okay, we're going to continue to identify the causes of the French Revolution. We're going to get into some specific causes today. And then the North Carolina Standard Course of Study is to use primary and secondary sources to interpret various historical perspectives. Hopefully that's a little bit of a hint that we'll get into a little bit of a DBQ, but not quite as intensive as last unit. We'll get to another DBQ later on for Europe. Excuse me. So the unit we're studying again is Europe. Statement of inquiry remains the same during the entire unit. Ideology impacts interactions. And again, y'all, if we're looking at the French Revolution, okay, the ideas from the Enlightenment, they impact the way the citizens, the third estate interacts, okay, with I guess authority, with the king, with other citizens. Okay, the king, this belief that he has this divine right to do whatever he wants and to be in control, that impacts the way he interacts with the citizens. Okay, same with the nobles and the Catholic clergy, like the priest. They think the same thing based on their ideas, their ideology, what they believe. That impacts the way that they interact with those around them. So that's why we're looking, that's how that relates to the statement of inquiry in the French Revolution. Synchronous work today is the starter, which we've done. And then we're going to begin page 40, DBQ, causes of the French Revolution, and then the ticket out the door. Your asynchronous work is to complete page 40. That should be done by 10 p.m. tonight. Okay. Let's look at page 40. Let's look at page 40. So go ahead to that in your digital notebook. Okay. All right. So there are 5 different documents. We are not, again, you don't have to rainbow edit. You don't have to rainbow highlight. You don't have to number the paragraphs. You don't have to put the main idea in the margin. Okay. My goal for you is to get through this in 1 day, 5 documents, 1 day, 5 questions. Each of the questions is valued at 2 points, making this entire page worth 10 points, which is kind of what you're realizing is a typical day in my class. So 5 documents, 5 questions, 2 points each, 10 points total. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Okay, first thing, you got to look at the source, right? You still have to look at the source, the document, where it's coming from, and think critically about that. So looking at document one, let's do document one together. Okay, so document one, this is adapted, okay, from Arthur Young, who I believe is British and was traveling to France. And so this individual is sharing his ideas about what he saw in France at this time. Okay, so July 12th, 1789. Walking up a long hill to ease my mare, I was joined by a poor woman who complained of the times and that it was a sad country. Demanding her reasons, she said her husband had put a small plot of land, 1 cow, and a poor little horse, yet they had to pay a tax of 42 pounds of wheat and 3 chickens to 1 noble and 168 pounds of oats, 1 chicken and 1 sou, a small unit of money, to another. The taxes and laws are crushing us. This woman, at no great distance, might have been taken for 60 or 70. Her figure was so bent and her face so wrinkled and hardened by labor, but she said she was only 28. So, here's what I want you to do. I mean, if you want to, right, you can highlight some key content there. You don't have, it's not a requirement, but, travels to France, right? And I'm just using yellow just to get ultimately the important information. You do not have to highlight. Ultimately, I just want you to answer the question, but if it helps you determine what's going on, then go ahead, right? So there's some other content, right? Noble, oats, right? Talking about the taxes, they're crushing us. She looked 60 or 70, but she was really 28. So I know I did that quick. Okay. So here's the question that I need you to answer. Based on the observations of Arthur Young, why might the French revolt against their monarchy? In other words, why are they ticked off? Why have they had enough with this king? Go ahead. And so you could write it if you have like a digital pen or pencil, or you could just easily just select your um, select that, delete it, right, and write it and write in your answer. So if you look there, it does say delete and write the answer in this color. So basically what you do is delete some of it, and that allows you to write in that color without having to go and change the font. So if I'm looking at that, right, they're poor, they're tired, they're heavily taxed, they are paying taxes to the wealthy or nobles, right? I mean, that's like part of it. So economically, these people are ticked off. Politically, they're having to pay all these taxes to the higher ups, to the nobles, to the king, and it's taking away the little bit that they have, and it's like taking from the poor and giving to the rich. It's kind of what's happening here. Okay, so there's my answer to that question. You can use that answer if you want. Okay, and then let's move on to number 2, document 2. I'm not going to answer this question for you, but let's break it down a little bit. Okay, let's break it down a little bit. So document 2 is, right, we have a diagram. So I'm going to do some highlighting, okay? So document 2, diagram. This is talking about the 3 French estates, 1789, the land each of them held. Okay, the old regime is talking about the king. Okay, the old people in control, the people that were in control. So we have the first estate, second estate, third estate. The first estate is the clergy. They're like the church leaders, right? The Catholic clergy. They're the leaders of the church at that time, and they held power and wealth and privilege in this social class system of the three estates. They had 1% of the people, but they owned 10% of the land, right? So they had 1/10 of the land, even though they were only 1% of the population. Then we have the nobles. It's like the wealthy, the landowners, those close up to the king in a way. So they were 2% of the population, and they owned 25% of the land. They owned a quarter of the land, but they were 2% of the population. And then we have the third estate. This includes everybody else, middle class, peasants, city workers. They're the remaining 97%. And yeah, they get the rest of the land, 65% of the land. But if you look at that, 97% of the people get the remaining 65% of the land. That's extremely unfair. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, that's insane. So if you break it down to 100 people, one person gets 10% of the land. Okay, and let's see here. All right, let's see if I add n, right? So let's do 10 by 10. Let's slow down. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, 10 by 10. See if I can squeeze 10 in here. All right, there we go. That looks good. All right, now think about it this way, right? Let's do the clergy. I'll make them green. Okay, make them green. They are 1% of the population, yet they have 10% of the land. So imagine 1% of the population getting all that land. And then you have the nobles in purple. Okay, the nobles, they are 2% of the population, and they get 25% of the land. So they get, that's 10%, 20%, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They get that land. Okay, and they're only 2 out of 100 people, right? 2% of the population. They've got, I mean, they get the most per person, per capita. Okay, and then we look at the third estate. That'll be blue. Third estate, they get the rest, right? So you get an idea of maybe why they're upset. So I want you to go ahead and, based on the diagram, why might the French revolt against their monarchy? Okay, go ahead and answer that question now. Make sure you do it in that font, please. And then I want you, for our asynchronous time, to continue through each and every document, please. Okay, let's take a look. You got document 3, document 4, and document 5. Okay, so I want you to answer each of those questions. Each of those questions, again, is valued at 2 points, making this entire document worth 10 points. So let's take a look at the ticket out the door. So, real straightforward again, y'all. Real straightforward, except for the first question. Hopefully you get it right. Please get it right. Okay. What should you do when you've completed all work but have more time scheduled for individuals and societies? So you've done all your work, you're done, and you have some extra time. Okay. So play outside, take a nap, work on the extra credit extension, play video games. Not what do you want to do, but what have I told you to do, right? So please choose work on your extra credit extension. Okay, please select that one. It's the third one on mine. It may be a different option for you. Okay, and then what was today's objective? Read that carefully. Don't get tricked. Don't get tricked, y'all. Question 3, what unit are we studying? 4, what's the statement of inquiry? And then what is your asynchronous work?